Hi, welcome back to our last tutorial on MLA formatting and how to make the changes in Word that are necessary for your document to be properly formatted. So we've already covered most of the basics. We've gotten our page number and our last name in the header. We have our MLA heading in the body of the paper. We have a title that's centered, and all of our text has indented paragraphs on the first line. So that's the majority of what we're looking for. Now, this essay that I have copied and pasted into this document is a sample essay about camping that we sometimes refer to in the Academic Success Center, just as an example of a 5-paragraph essay. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to pretend that it was an actual research paper that used outside research to make an argument. So we're going to go ahead and pretend that that's the type of essay this is. And the first thing that you need to know is anytime you have a research paper where you've referred to information that you got somewhere else, whether it was from a book or an academic journal or a website, you have to cite that information within the text, but you also have to create what's called a Works Cited page. The Works Cited page is the page where you list where that information came from, where you have detailed information about the author, about the source, about when it was published, what year it was published, and all of that is a necessary part of any paper that includes research or outside information. So we'll cover the details of that in other resources that we have, but this one is just going to be about how do you actually make the Works Cited page and make it look the way that it's supposed to look for proper MLA format. So the first thing to realize is that whenever you have to make a Works Cited page, you always have to start a new page. So for instance, our essay ends maybe a third of the page on the last page. There's all this empty space here, but it's not correct for you to just go ahead and start typing your Works Cited page underneath of that. MLA Frmat wants a brand new separate page every time you're going to start listing your Works Cited. Now there's a couple ways to get to that second page. You can simply do what most people do, which is just hit enter, enter, enter until you get a new page started, and then just make sure that your cursor's at the top of that page. A lot of people do that. The only problem with doing it is if you go back and make adjustments in your document, you cut paragraphs or add more paragraphs, it's going to move your Works Cited page so that it's not going to start right at the top anymore. So you can do it that way, but if you add or make any changes to your paper, you're going to have to go back and make sure your Works Cited page is adjusted properly. So that's a way that most students tend to get started on the Works Cited page. An easier way is to do what's called inserting a page break. So what you can do is you can come up to the little selections up here and you can choose insert, and then you can do page break. Now you can't see the page break, but you can see that we have a brand new page down here now. If you ever want to look and see if the page break was formatted properly, you can come to the home page. You can click on this little P, and that shows the invisible formatting. And when you click that, you can see here, oh, page break. So if you type anything before that, it will keep the page break there, okay? So that's one way to make sure that you have actually successfully included your page break. I'm gonna hide that again. So now we have our brand new page down here. We have our cursor. It is left aligned, which normally would be right for all of our text. But for MLA Frmat, for the Works Cited page, it needs a title. And as with our normal title at the beginning of the essay, the title for the Works Cited page also has to be centered. So we always select the center alignment, and then we type either Works Cited, if it's just one source that you're using. But if you have more than one source, 2, 3, 4, 5, then it's going to be listed as Works Cited. So after you've got your title centered, hit enter. Now we have the cursor centered again, but as we move into the text of our citations, of the sources that we used for our research, we don't want our citations to be centered. We want them to be like the rest of the page and the rest of the paper and to be left aligned. So we come back up to the alignment selection, do left aligned. Now I'm not going to type out all the citations. I've copied and pasted from another document the information that I'm going to use as my citations. So I'm going to paste that in here now. And you can see that we have the same font. So we continue with Times New Roman 12-point font, and we keep double spacing. So all of these things are double spaced. Now, this is not quite how citations should look. In our paragraphs for our text, we always indented the first line, and we could do that by doing tab or by making the selection in the paragraph menu. But for Works Cited pages, the first line is always supposed to be all the way to the left, the way that it is now, but then every line after the first line of the citation is supposed to be indented. Now, if you try to put your cursor on the second line and hit tab, Microsoft Word won't let you do that. It wants to keep the whole citation together. So you can't successfully do that in Microsoft Word. So the question comes, how do you get those other lines to indent while keeping the first line all the way to the left side of the page? So I'm going to highlight all the text I have here. I'm going to come back up to the little paragraph menu, so paragraph, and we click the little arrow to open the menu. And then I'm going to show you under indentation. This is where we created the first line indentation for our body paragraphs. So under indentation, we come to special, and then we open the drop-down menu. But instead of choosing first line indentation for that which we use for our body paragraphs, we want to choose hanging indentation. It should automatically indent by ½ an inch. And so if you watch this highlighted area here, while I hit OK, you'll see Microsoft Word make the change. There we go. Now we have our first line to the left, and we have every line after that indented. So sometimes if your citation is only 1 or 2 lines, you might only have 1 line that's indented. For longer citations like this one, you might have 2 or 3 lines after the first line that are indented. Okay, so that's great. This is perfectly formatted for the way that things should appear. There is one mistake though. So whenever you list your works cited, they should always be listed in alphabetical order. Well, I can see here that mine are not in alphabetical order. I have H coming after M. So I'm going to cut that, and I'm going to reinsert it in front of my M. So now I have the same citations, but they're listed properly in the alphabetic order. So now our works cited page looks exactly as it should. Thank you so much for sticking around with our tutorial series. We'll be creating more resources going into other grammar and writing issues over time. Thank you.